Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff. This is part 2 in a series of how to replace the antenna on your Panasonic Toughbook CF-30. So we have our two Wi-Fi antennas that we're going to replace, left and right. And here is the rear cabinet in which they are overlaid. And we are going to go ahead on and replace these antennas. I hope this tutorial is informative to you, and if it is, don't hesitate to hit that like button. Now, to get to this point of where the LCD touchscreen is completely removed and there is nothing but the rear cabinet and the body, check out part 1. I will put the link on the video so that way you can access the part 1 of this series. Now, for starters, what we need to do is that we need to replace these antennas back on the top portion here. Okay, now that we've zoomed in, we're going to go and replace this screw here. Alright, so we just put the screw back in, then we get the small Phillips head, and then we tighten that right back on there. There we go. Okay. Next, we need to replace the cover here. You just make sure that's put on correctly, and then you obviously see the two screw holes here and here. And we're just going to go ahead on and replace that too as well. And that's one screw antenna cover. And to screw that back on. There you go. That's one antenna cover. Okay, now we're replacing the white wire antenna cover, and we're going to put that back on here. There it is. Then we're going to replace the screw for it, like so. Obviously, feel free to clean your screws if you need to. At this point, that would be a great idea to do so because these screws are very dirty. Now for the antenna cover. I'm going to replace this first screw like so. And for the second screw. Okay, now that we've replaced the antenna covers, we're going to run the wires along the groove, along the allotted groove. You can see where the single pass-through is being ran on this side. We're just going to run it along that same groove right there. Yep, there you go. There you go. You know, trying really hard not to damage the tape, you know, just making sure that it's, you know, protecting the wire and that it's, you know, being overlaid in the right, correct spot. And now for the white wire on the opposite side, we are going to also replace that. So we're just going to run it along the groove, just like we did with the black wire. We're going to replace the tape. Like so. This tape is really, really important just to keep it in place. And then you can see that it has little grooves where the tape obviously goes. Now that we've replaced the tape, we can replace the bumpers, or excuse me, the covers. Now that we're replacing the covers, and now that we feel that they're on nice and secure, here. We're going to place these top covers too as well. As well as this single pass-through antenna top cover for the rear cabinet. And now once those are clicked on and nice and tight, we can move on to our next step. Now I'm going to reconnect the front cabinet to the rear cabinet, just all part of reassembling the CF-30. All in a day's work. Now, open this back up. It's just a matter of overlaying the front cabinet over the rear cabinet. You want to make sure that the wires are fairly free. So, just going to overlay it like so. And that's pretty much it. Once it's laying in the right spot, it kind of all just falls into place. Now we're just going to replace the screws on the rear cabinet. I'd say, just to be on the safe side, you might want to run the wire across like so. Just make sure it's in front of the hinges, so that way when you replace the hinge covers, it's going to just save you a bunch of confusion. So just, make sure that the wires are just ran in front of the hinge covers. They're for the antenna, the Wi-Fi antenna. Just kind of saves you some trouble in the end. All right. Now at this point, it's okay to replace the screws. I'm going to mark them with red circles. There we go. Now the two larger screws in the corner can be replaced as well. I recommend using a larger screwdriver for this, like so. Tighten them up. Screw in the corner here. I'm gonna put this down. Make sure that one's nice and tight. There you go. I always recommend keeping track of these screws throughout the process. Just saves a headache in the Okay, now we've fully replaced the front and rear cabinet. Now we're going to just replace the screws for the hinges. You can actually remove the hinge. You can actually remove the antennas, both antennas, left and right, without really taking the hinges off. But I think that it's like easier just to have it completely disassembled. Place this final hinge screw here. And once all the hinges have been replaced, we're going to replace the actual hinge covers themselves. At this point, you can actually reconnect the wires for the Wi-Fi card. So we're just going to run the white wire along this line here. put it underneath that tape at that spot right there. And then we're going to do the same for the black wire here. Just gonna run along that groove there. Alrighty. We're gonna reconnect these two coaxials here. You can run them actually through this orange divider here, which makes it a bit easier. We can also replace the LCD cables. I'm going to zoom in for that. We're going to replace the wires for the LCD cable cover. Then we're going to reconnect this wire here as well. Once both of those wire cables have been reconnected to the LCD connectors, then we can start replacing these cable covers. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace, I'm going to replace the cable cover. I'm going to overlay the cable cover back where it needs to be. Just like this. Now I'm going to screw the cable cover back down, like so. Just overlaid the hinge cover. Now I'm going to replace the screws that go over the hinge cover and the LCD cable cover, like so. And there's one. And make sure the wires where they need to be. You can replace the screw, the hinges. There you go. Okay, now at this point we're going to replace the keyboard cable cover. Just going to place that back over top, like that. Because you're going to be replacing them. You can also replace the electrical tape over the two cable covers, like so. There you go. There you go. I'm going to zoom out as we replace the keyboard and the keyboard bezel. Next, you're going to reset your keyboard. Make sure the ribbon cables are pushed down. Now we're going to replace the screws for the bezel. Now what we need to do is we need to replace the back screws for the hinges. Okay, so I'm going to lift this back up. It's going to most likely require a little bit of force, a little bit of pressure, just to get them in the right spot. But at this point, you can tighten them up like so. I'm going to place this screw, tighten it up. There you go. Your CF-30 is completely reassembled. Thank you for tuning in here at Bob Johnson's Computer Stuff, Inc. We are the Toughbook experts. This is part 2 of how to replace the left and right Wi-Fi antenna in a CF-30. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment at the bottom of the video. And if you enjoyed the tutorial today, don't forget to hit that like button, labeled with the thumbs up at the bottom of the video. And if you're interested in seeing more Toughbook content, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button located at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
Thanks for watching today. For more repair videos, click the link below. And remember, if you have a screwdriver, you can fix a computer.